Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay, and in this video, I'm going to give you the reasons why I decided to upgrade to the Sony A7 IV. So let's just get right into it. Alright, so the first reason why I upgraded to the Sony A7 IV was because I really needed a professional camera body. Now, you know, that I guess is somewhat subjective, but in particular, what I needed was the dual card slots here, because I have to have redundancy. I feel like it's one of those things that's just a no-brainer. Like if I'm going to do a gig and get paid for it, I better have redundancy on the cards. I don't want to have to reshoot it. I want peace of mind. In addition, the camera body itself is just way more ergonomic. It's got a much larger grip. It's way easier to use for like long periods of time. It is a little bit heavier. It has the full-size HDMI port, which is just another one of those things. It's just more professional in that way, having that port, in my opinion. Another really nice thing I like about the camera body is this right here. You have the sub mode dial here. You see that? So I'm changing under the mode dial. So you have a dedicated video, photo, and S and Q. And what's really cool about that is each one of those modes gives you 3 custom programmable options. So now I have 3 programmable modes for video, and then if I switch it to photo, I have 3 more programmable modes for photo. I don't really use S and Q mode that much. So having those modes and those customization options for each mode for me is awesome, because now I can record video like this inside in the studio with one option. I have it all dialed in for the studio lighting and everything. Then I can just switch it to another one, go outside and just run and gun shoot, come right back into the studio and pick right up. And I don't have to go through all the settings. So it's like just less friction. So that right there was huge for somebody like me, and it really made me want the Sony A7 IV since I reviewed it. I reviewed it, whatever, like 8 months ago or something like that. Ever since then, I really wanted it, and it might seem like not that big of a deal to some, depending on your needs, but for me, that was like game changer. I'm like, oh man, I would love to have that because I use multiple settings a lot, and those customization modes save you so much time. So there's that. And another thing about the professional camera body in particular is the new menu system. The new menu system is a game changer. It's so much better. If I hit the menu button here, the new menu system is so much better than the old menu system. And I much prefer this style menu system. So again, it's just less friction, it's easier to use. So reason number 2 why I really wanted to upgrade to the Sony A7 IV for me was the electronic viewfinder. Now the electronic viewfinder on this is way bigger than the one on the Sony A7C. It's super high resolution compared to the Sony A7C. And you know, if you're tracking high-speed moving subjects, it's really nice having a high quality viewfinder. The A7C viewfinder does work, don't get me wrong. I've used it for sports and things like that, and it does work. It works pretty well, but not as good as this viewfinder. And this has like the extra eye cup rubber where you really want to see the details better. The viewfinder is much better than the screen. And in sunny conditions, it's like you have to use the electronic viewfinder. So once I use the A7 IV viewfinder, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a lot better. You know, I could see using this. And then you go back to the A7C and I'm using it and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had that other viewfinder, you know? So again, it's just one of those things, and it just means a lot to me having a good viewfinder. Now, the third reason why I wanted to upgrade to the A7 IV, these aren't necessarily in order of importance, by the way, but the third reason is 10-bit video. The A7C only does 8-bit video, so, you know, it's just not as good quality. 8-bit, you can't really use S-Log3 and get that monster dynamic range boost that you get with the 10-bit. You can use S-Log3 on the A7C, but you can't really push it that far. It breaks apart really easy. The S-Log3 profile really requires 10-bit. To utilize it, you know, and edit it properly, I feel like. So I really wanted that for recording in the studio and stuff like that in particular, but also outside. I want that larger dynamic range. The more dynamic range, the better. And so that's another huge reason why I wanted to upgrade to the A7 IV. Now, in addition to that, in the video feature side, the focus breathing compensation, I absolutely wanted that. Focus breathing drives me crazy when you go from one subject to another and it looks like the camera is zooming. So focus breathing, it does cost you a little bit in the crop, but it eliminates that like focus zoom effect you get when you're switching from one subject to another. And I do that a lot when I focus on products and then I'll go back to something else, and that results in that you know, focus breathing phenomenon. In addition to the focus breathing, I really wanted to try out the Cinetone picture profile because that's a turnkey picture profile. Now, it kind of contradicts what I said earlier about using S-Log3 to have that large dynamic range, because Cinetone does not have that large dynamic range. It's just like a turnkey profile. So I did want that though for those times when I don't want to use S-Log and I just kind of want to run and gun, but don't want to edit the footage. You know, there are scenarios where that comes into play, and that's why I really wanted Cinetone for that. I wanted to try that out. The Sony A7 IV has real-time AF for humans, animals, and birds while recording video, which is amazing, and that's a nice upgrade from the A7C as well. And so I really wanted that feature also. So the next reason number 4, is the 33 megapixel sensor. Now, the higher resolution sensor offers more oversampling than the A7C, which results in sharper 4K video. And in addition, this has 4K 60, so that's nice as well. But the oversampling of that higher resolution sensor is the reason why I wanted it for video. Now, for photography, that's also phenomenal. Portrait photography, you're gonna get more detail for editing. Landscape photography, more detail for editing and or larger prints. And you could also crop in more if shooting sports, for example. A lot of times when shooting sports, you're going to need to crop in post just to get closer to the athlete, depending on what lenses you have available to you. So that extra resolution is really nice, and I wanted it for that purpose. So reason number 5 would be the mechanical shutter built into the A7 IV. Now the A7C also has a mechanical shutter, but you can't hard set it like you can in the A7 IV. And in addition, in the A7 IV, it goes up to 1/8000th of a second with mechanical shutter. That is awesome for sports, high-speed moving subjects in really bright conditions. I tap out the A7C shutter at 1/4000 all the time, and that just sucks, you know, so the 8000 really is an advantage. It also has a huge buffer compared to the A7C. So you could take like 800 plus shots consecutively with this camera. The A7C can't even come close to doing that. And that is a gigantic advantage. So if I were to do a sporting event like I used to do when I was doing professional photography, you might be rattling off like brr, 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 like depending on what you're doing, you know, Taekwondo tournaments and stuff like that. You know, you have to have that shutter going like crazy to get the, you know, the board breaks and things like that. So the buffer gets filled up really fast unless you have a huge buffer. So the A7 IV just destroys the A7C in that particular aspect. And I really wanted that feature for that purpose. These are all purpose conscious like decisions, you know, as to why I upgraded to the A7 IV. So I really hope that these help you guys make an informed decision. You know what I mean? The last reason why I upgraded to the A7 IV. I mean, there's so many other features that make the A7 IV better than the A7C, but again, a lot of them don't really matter to me. But this one did. The autofocus is better. So there's more autofocus points. There's like 700, what is it? There's 759 or something on the A7 IV, and there's like 680 or something on the A7C. So there's just more focus points, but it's the next generation, so it's better. Like Sony, every generation, they just get a little better. So I wanted the better autofocus, and it's better for animals and birds, bird eye AF and stuff like that. So it's just like the next level autofocus, and I really wanted the best autofocus possible for sports in particular, but it definitely helps when recording video and tracking moving subjects and stuff, which is very important to me. So now there is one more bonus feature I have to tell you, and that bonus feature is also having the Sony A7C, because listen, the A7C is phenomenal. I've been using the A7C now since I bought it for probably like a year and a half. I absolutely love the camera. I really don't have anything negative to say about the camera. It's a fantastic camera. The A7 IV is just better for me for professional purposes in a number of areas, which I just discussed. So that's pretty much it, guys. I really hope you got something out of this video. I will catch up with you guys next time. All right, take care.